Welcome everybody. Let's start today. Remember our teachers, and the teacher of all our teachers, the Buddha, with great appreciation and respect for all the goodness that they left for us and all the goodness that they continue doing for the benefit of many of our human family. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. As our teacher said, good day. Today is a good day because we will have the opportunity to continue exploring the nature of the mind, nature of the body, the nature of the Dhamma. Welcome, everyone.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
How is everybody?
Everybody looks good.
Good. So today we will continue with what we left from last week. Continue with a little bit of the mental process, and then we will go back to the consciousness, resultant consciousness that we have been looking at. So continue with the rootless resultant consciousness where we left off last week. And first of all, last week we saw mental process, which is like what happens in the mind when, let's say, when we see something, when we hear something, when we smell something, eat something, taste something, or touch something, like what happens. So we used it one example of eye consciousness, like how eye consciousness arises, like in an eye door process, let's say. Yes, so we will do a tiny bit of revision of the mental process, and then we will continue. So here, let's say, when there is a visible object available, then, of course, we need an eye. If there is no eye, then we cannot see. So with the eye, with the visible object, when they get into contact, then a process happens in the mind. Then, what happens is that last time, a few weeks ago, also Bante mentioned that when we are just when there is nothing happening, let's say, when we are, let's say, in a deep sleep or no specific objects is capturing our attention at the moment, then there is some kind of consciousness which is called bhavanga, life continuum. This kind of consciousness, they run in the mind. They are some kind of resultant consciousness that's running. And when something happens, let's say, if there is an object to be seen, then this bhavanga consciousness, life continuum consciousness, it starts to shake because something is happening. So when it shakes, after it shakes, what happens in the mind is that then the mind turns. Then we're here.
Turns the attention towards the object. Then, if it is a visible object, then the corresponding consciousness, which is eye consciousness in this case, arises. Then after eye consciousness arises, here, it is only this kind of consciousness. They are cittas. They are basically very simple consciousness. They are only getting the data, the visible data, the data from the object. At this point, it doesn't know what it is. It's just like a mirror reflecting the image into the mind. So then it turned it to the object. Then it saw the object, then it received the object. Now then here, in Sampatichana, after Sampatichana, in Santirana, in this investigating consciousness, is the first time where the mind gets the marks or characteristic of the object that it sees, and then it starts knowing a little bit more about the object, what it is. So it's here. Then after that, then there is come another type of consciousness called determining consciousness. It's this is a flower, or this is something. No, so here the mind knows what it is, and here it happens seven times. Javana, it's called Javana, consciousness. It is the active consciousness where the mind actually tastes the object for 7 times. So it is here.
Seven units of consciousness.
For
7 moments.
7 moments, yeah. 7 of the same type of consciousness arises here, and then it tastes the full taste of the whatever object it may be. Then after that, then it gets an aftertaste of the object, and then it goes back to neutral, goes back to sleep, let's say, goes back until another thing happens again. So between process and process, there's the mind always goes back to life continuum, always bhavanga arises, happens, and then pass to another object. Until here, everything is fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just to remind you, well, just
Go ahead.
go ahead. Just to remind you, these 17 units of consciousness, it's called the mental process. It happens always in that group. And if we have 9 billion consciousness per second, that means last week we made the account, it's like 530 million of these processes per second. Right now, the mind is doing that 17 times, 17 units of consciousness, and it goes to sleep 508, how many I said? 580, no? Million times it goes back to sleep. Right now, each second it goes back to sleep. So it's like kind of flashing, the mind is flashing, and this is what it can be perceived in this machine, how we call? Magnetic resonance, MRI. In the MRI, they can perceive, and there are many ways of measuring this kind of clock of the mind that is arising and passing away. So all this is to see when the mind. This is a seeing process. So at that moment, these 17 mental moments, the mind only saw. The next one, the mind may put the name to flower, for example. But it was not seeing, it was thinking on the name. And then on the next one is listening, but it happens so quickly that we perceive it as real, as what we experience. But actually, it is happening many times per second.
And is this process always linear? I mean, it's always single-pointed? If, for example, I'm cutting an onion.
Yes.
And I'm smelling, and I'm touching,
Yes.
and I'm seeing the onion.
Yes.
It's just one sense at a time, which is...
Yes, you only smell, you only see, you only hear, you only know that it is an onion, you know the name in different moments, but it happens so quickly, like in a movie, it really feels like it's happening everything at the same time, but actually the mind, like a computer, is only doing one unit at a time. It's either sleeping, either turning, either seeing, either receiving, either investigating, either tasting it. Oh, I like, I don't like. For example, if I don't like the onion, in the javanas, in the red ones, we will have experienced dosa. If I like the onion, it will be desire. If I'm neutral towards the object, then it will be equanimity. And then on this is the actual part that is active, the red ones. All the other ones are happening without being able for us to do anything. We don't do nothing to see what we see. The only thing we do is open the eyes. But anyway, if we close the eyes, the conditions are together. We do nothing to hear.
It sounds a little mysterious that actually when we see, we don't hear, and when we hear, well, the mind, no, we don't see actually, because who sees? Chaku Vijnana see, the eye consciousness see. Actually, I don't see because this is not an eye, it's just a process going on. So eye consciousness see, nose consciousness smell. So it's strange that when we think that we are looking and listening and tasting and doing everything at the same time, actually when we see, we don't hear, when we hear, we don't smell, when we smell, we don't taste. But because it is so fast that it seems like everything is together. But remember we are looking microscopically, like microscopically, like happens billions of these units in a second, in the blink of an eye, billions of these passes away. So that's why we feels like they are happening so fast and at the same time, but actually they are happening like processes and processes and processes one after another. And as we saw last week or last week, there is no, consciousness cannot arise two consciousness at the same time. It's only one by one. Only when this one arises and when it passes away, then the next one can have chance to arise. And when the next one passes away, then the next one arises. They cannot arise like a group or like 5 processes together, then it is not possible. It's only always one by one.
It's let's remember 2 things. This is only what's happening in the mind. There is no. It is what the mind does with the information that came through the senses. This is not that the mind is seeing. Actually, it's not seeing. The information that came through the eyes then is turned into the process of all this is mind process. So, for example, whoever have worked with computers, we know that every picture, every sound, every web page, every single thing that we see in our phones actually is zeros and ones, isn't it? It's only 1 0 1 0, on off, is binary. So we can think of this is much grosser, the computer, this is much more refined, but it is the same thing. We're looking at the zeros and the one of the mind. So each of the consciousness, each of the cittas, let's call it Pali. Yesterday we arrived to the point where if we continue calling it consciousness, we become problematic. Because we have, in the West, we have this notion of conscious, unconscious. So the question came, and yesterday, last Sunday, we clarified that in Buddhist terms, there is no unconscious. The fact that we cannot perceive it, it's believed to be unconscious in the Western way of thinking. But it doesn't mean that we cannot perceive all these very small processes through mental training and very heightened mental attention. So there is no unconscious, only the mind is sleeping but still is active, and we will see when we arrive to chapter 4, we will see how these bhavanga also have a lot of information in them. It's not really sleeping the mind, it's just not
neutral,
active.
let's say.
It's neutral, and only there we are planting seeds on these javanas, the red ones, good or bad seeds.
Yeah, so here we...
So let's call it chitta, no? Pali.
Yes.
Unit of consciousness.
Yeah, everybody understands
Yes,
chitta.
chitta.
So from now we use chitta. Okay, so here we are using the example of an eye-door process with the flower as a visible object. So say for example, if it is a sound, what happens is that here, instead of chaku vijnana, instead of eye consciousness, eye chitta, then what happens is that it becomes a ear consciousness, no? Like ear sota vijnana in Pali it's called. So ear consciousness or ear chitta happens here instead of eye. Yes, but then the process is the same, because like there is a sound, then the mind shakes, then the mind turns to the object, then turns to the sound. This one actually, this is different chittas, but they have different functions. No, so here it turns, and then here it hears in this case. Then it receives the sound data. Then it knows a little bit more about what it is. Then it determines, this is a bird, this is a dog, or whatever. And then here it's happened where our action, because actually it will come in the next one. These ones, when we see the bhavanga, the life continuum, is a resultant consciousness. So that means here we don't do anything. It is the result already of past actions that we did.
It's the result of a karma.
Yes, and so this one, the turning, panchadora avajana, the 5-door averting consciousness in English, is only a functional consciousness. Yeah, it only arises, does its job, and then it goes away, passes away. And then these three, be it eye consciousness, eye, ear, nose, tongue, or body, whatever it may be here, and also the receiving consciousness and the investigating consciousness, these three types of chittas are also resultant consciousness. Yes? Then, Votavana, here, determining consciousness is a functional consciousness here. Now here, this 7 javanas is where are the seeds. This is, and then later on, this the aftertaste, Tadarvana, and Bhavanga again, life continuum, they are also kind of a resultant consciousness. So what is important here is that for resultant and functional, actually there is nothing to do for us, because it is already the result, we cannot change. There's nothing to do. And function is just doing its own function, just like the stomach doing its digestion, so it's doing its function. There is nothing to do for us here. But what is important for us here is this part where we actually plant the seeds. So whether we react with akusala, unwholesome, lobha, dosa, and moha, greed, aversion, or delusion, or we react to whatever result is happening, no? With alobha, adosa in moha, generosity, loving kindness, and wisdom, then here is where we can do something. Yes? Here, what kind of object we see depends on our past karma, because they are resultant. So here we cannot choose. But how we react to the result that we are harvesting at this moment, let's say, then this is our responsibility. And here is planting new seeds for later on to have again some other kind of results. Yes. So here is the important part.
So we can say this is past and that is present. I mean, everything is present, but this is coming from the past. This is
Cause,
coming.
not the cause.
This is coming from the our previous action. This is coming. This is what we planted before, and this is what we are planting now. What we are planting now is gonna become this immediately. So this process, you take this 17 here, and then 17, 17. So this bawanga is actually this one already.
Let's say in simple words.
Yes, always 17.
No, sometimes it varies.
When we die, it's 2 less because the mind is too weak. So we have only 5 javanas because the mind is dying. Also mental process. No.
Yeah.
In this type, when it is sense impingement, yes, it's 17. It varies according to the energy of the mind.
So in simple words, let's say this is effect, the results, they are effect, and this is causes. And this causes is going to bring effects later on, and more causes will happen. Yes.
Yeah.
So this is the cycle. Yes.
Let's say that if we were planting seeds through a different kind of cheetah, as I realized for the last video, there is no like a storage place for the so it's been just passed along the line, right? If I plant like some seeds with like an I consciousness, I cheetah, I can.
You mean you plant?
I mean, I'm well. Now I'm getting my mind on it. Sorry.
No problem.
So if I realize something through the I consciousness,
Yes.
yeah.
So here, yes, it's realizing.
Okay, and I'm planting certain seeds afterwards with
Let's
the
say, for
jhana.
example, that we see something very beautiful here. In this 7, we might react with lova, or we might react with kusala, so whatever it can be. So here is where we're planting those seeds that you're mentioning.
So I can manifest this new karma accumulated or that is passed on with any of the consciousness, or just the same that was received with.
Actually, well, let's see if I understand your question. Then I try to. All consciousness, all cittas, they arises and passes away, and they never come back again, and it's no more.
Okay.
So whatever this is being planted, and then it leaves a potentiality in the stream of the mind. No, it is not stored anywhere. We don't carry a bag with all the seeds that we already have, or we don't have rent a storage house and leave it there. And so it is only a potential. All this because they are causes, no? So they have a potential to produce result. So all this potential is being left in it's like an energy that is being that stays in the mental process. I mean, in the river of the mind, or let's say like the flow. And when conditions comes, today we will also see some conditions of how this resultant arises. So when conditions comes together, then these seeds, they have potential to give result. Then whatever, when the conditions matches, then those seeds that matches these results, they have the chance now, and then they give the result. Yes?
Yeah.
So, but it is not being stored anywhere, and it depends on all the circumstances. That's why our teacher says that although what we have done already, we cannot erase it. No, there is no way. There is no unless we become an arahant, unless we become totally enlightened, then they will not give result anymore. But before we get totally enlightened, they will still continue to give result, and so there is nothing to do about it. But because the karma is only one condition for things to happen. There are more other conditions for it to happen. It's a very important condition, but other conditions are also important. So let's say, for example, where we are. Our teachers always say that don't go to the places where it is dangerous. Why? Because if you are in a place that is dangerous, then there are more possibility of your bad result and to arises. because the
Arise.
conditions are proper for this kind of resultant to arise. So if we don't go to a dangerous place, then maybe there is not enough conditions for some kind of bad deeds that we done before for it to arise. Say for example, at 3 o'clock in the morning, and then I was walking in the street alone and doing who knows what in a dangerous area. Well, then I'm creating the conditions at some point for the although whatever happens would be a bad result of my previous bad action if something bad happens, but I'm creating more possibility for it to happen. Yes, so that's why teacher said don't go to dangerous place. Although bad result can also happen even in a safe place, no? Because it might happen and whatever. And maybe I'm cooking and maybe whatever come taking something and then it can drop on the head. No, it's also possible. So bad result can happen anytime, but let's not create more conditions for it to let's say to prevent it a little bit, no? So well, that's more or less about the results. Is clear?
Yeah.
Yes.
it's clear.
Okay. Yes.
I'm sorry. I was wondering about DT.
Mm-hmm.
In what part of this process DT appears? Because perhaps in a moment I see an object which seems to be something, but it is not.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have illusions,
Yes.
perceptions,
Yes.
false perceptions.
Yes.
In what part do you consider DT is working?
First of all, well, this I will give two answers here because let's go back to this slide first. Okay, so DT. Remember DT associated with what kind of ahusala consciousness? Remember? Loba, yes? DT only associate with loba mula chitta, with the greed-rooted consciousness, so it is here. Then obviously it's here. It cannot be in other places because it is our action, no? It is our action and it is doing karma, yes? So it is only with this associated with loba that DT can ever happen. Now, another thing that you mentioned that about wrong perception, that is called sanya vipāka. That is not DT. When we see something as at least not what it really is, sometimes it can be moha, because we don't see the thing as it really is. That can be a characteristic of moha. It can be mixed with loba, but it is only wrong perception does not mean that it is DT, which is loba, no? Because DT always associates with loba. DT actually is a wrong view. It is with attachment, because when we have an idea that it must be like this, it is like this. It is as I think it is, although it is not. So I'm grasping and I'm holding on to that kind of idea, and so that DT is always holding on to. So if I perceive something which is, let's say I saw a rope here and I thought it was a snake and I got scared. But at that moment, I'm not grasping to it must be a snake or something. But the next time I see again, oh, it is a rope. So I'm not holding on to the idea that it must be a snake. At that moment, although the perception was wrong, and then dosa arises actually because of fear. Because instead of I thought it was a snake and I got scared, and instead of loba, which is nothing to do with dosa, nothing to do with DT in that moment, then it arises dosa due to that. Also, so DT and wrong perception is different.
Thank you. That was.
Thank you. Yes.
I have a doubt with Bhagwanga.
Bhavanga.
That's the conscious that comes from previous lives. Is that right? Or previous acts on this life.
Previous life.
So I cannot change it in this
No.
life.
Well, all the resultant cannot change. Yes. Basically.
Only we can make
only
new
change
resultant.
You can make new causes so that the new kinds of result might happen in the future. But all that is already here is resultant and functional is not changeable, because it is already the seeds are already being planted.
From a previous life, or from a previous life and this one.
It depends where. If you're
Both.
talking about Bhavanga, only
Okay.
Bhavanga is from past life.
Okay.
And Chakuvinyana could be from this life.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes.
So China, let's say the more we focus on this, every moment, let's say we can just start to try to avoid, for example, I'm cooking and I just cut myself, or I just do something because I'm not in the present moment, and I burn myself, or something happened. But as long as I'm training my mind, I can understand that this is happening for a reason as a result. So maybe that moment is less. I react in a
less,
different
yes.
in a different way. So it's like
Yes.
just be the that awareness is like avoiding in a certain way the that you
Making
accumulate,
more
making
bad
more in that.
causes,
Okay,
no?
okay.
Yes, surely, because awareness, sati, only associate with
It is.
kusala cittas, only associate with good consciousness, no? Like kusala, wholesome consciousness, only wholesome seeds, it only plants. So if we are acting with sati, then we prevent this from happening. Yes. Say for example here, like Marcelo said, when we are cooking, then we cut our finger, and then I can get angry, or I can understand that it was because I was not careful, and also I heard also because of past bad karma. It must also can have something to do, not all the time. Because not all the time, because sometimes our teacher said that don't blame everything to karma, because it is not true. Because sometimes it's also because of our lack of attention. And also say, for example, our teacher said if a person he's playing and playing and he decides to jump from the third floor to the ground, and then he hurt himself, that's not because of karma. Our teacher said that's because of stupidity. so not all the time because of karma. But anyway, so let's say I hurt myself, and then here, if I am with sati, then it is more probably that I say, oh, I'm already got hurt already. That's quite enough, and I not need to get angry and get hurt more in the mind. So if there is sati, then I might react with kusala instead of getting angry, instead of planting more bad seeds, then later will come more bad results. Yes? Clear? Everything? Everybody okay?
Yeah.
Yes, yes? Okay, so let's continue.
This is very interesting. We will go in detail in the chapter number 4. We will have it.
The mental process. So now, up till now, we have seen the akusala cittas, the unwholesome consciousness, the 12 kinds, remember? Which 12 kinds? 8 kinds of lobamula citta, greed-rooted consciousness, 2 kinds of dosamula citta, and hatred-rooted consciousness, and 2 kinds of moha, no, and delusion-rooted consciousness. So for altogether 12 kinds are these ones that we saw, which are the ones that are planting seeds. Yes, the ones that we saw. And then from last week we have been looking to the results of those unwholesome consciousness, but because they are causes, so they must have some kind of result. So this results in the mental process. It happens here in the eye, ear, nose, tongue, body consciousness are receiving and investigating cittas, and also the aftertaste that happens here. So in this case, it is an akusala vipāka, which is an unwholesome resultant. Remember last time we also mentioned a little bit that because, briefly only I will say, because last week we already talked about this, then because akusala roots, they are bad roots, sick roots, so the tree is not healthy, then so that they cannot produce proper fruits. They only give some kind of like leaves or flowers the most at some point, but which have no potential to give further roots. Yes? So here, this kind of consciousness, that's why they are rootless. Yes, rootless. Yes? Okay, so now we'll go back to where we were last time. Last time, yes, coming. Last time we were in akusala vipāka, rootless, resultant consciousness, eye, ear, nose, tongue, and all this kind of consciousness happens when we encounter with unpleasant or disagreeable objects. Let's say a not very nice sight. Oops. The sound, I thought it was
Mosquito.
yes,
It was a mosquito. We can make
anyway. Yeah, we have live sound effect. Yes, so yes, Andrea was wanting to say something.
Just very quickly.
Can you talk louder? So we reported that the questions cannot be, for everyone, cannot be listened in the video.
Okay. I just don't know if I understood right, but is there akusala vipāka with root?
No,
Not possible.
Not
Only
possible.
rootless.
yes.
it is rotten, already bad, so cannot give good fruit. So it gives flower, it can give flowers and leaves, but has no fruit. So the seed, from the seed of the fruit comes the root of a new plant. So it's kind of weak, it is corrupted. So we can think on the way that every time we act mentally unwholesome, when we get angry, desire, or ignorance, this is becoming, besides the suffering, is kind of bad seeds. It cannot give give good fruits, even fruits.
Now you may say that it can give bad roots. That's why it doesn't give bad roots. Then our teacher also, he explained that in the mental process. Okay, now today we will come to also the good result, no? And there we will see, because good result does give results with roots and without roots, depending on the quality of it. But we will come to there. And okay, should I say it now or later? Let me see how you will understand better. I will say it so briefly, but then later when we get to the point, then we'll explain more. Okay? So if the bad roots. These ones, actually, it happens in this present life, no? Like the eye consciousness and ear consciousness of all this. So it doesn't have to do with rebirth consciousness. We are going far ahead now, but just keep this in mind. Like my friend was saying, like how about Bhavanga? Bhavanga is actually result. If we are human being, this Bhavanga is good resultant consciousness with roots from our past life. So that's why those are the ones that comes from past life, and because we did good in our past life, so that's why in this present life, then we have this consciousness arises. Those are the results of that good action of past life. And here, these ones actually they are not the resultants. They are weaker than those that produce a new life. Yes, because it's only produced the eye consciousness or no consciousness that we can sense something. But the ones that produce a new life, when this one finished, those are much stronger, no? Mm-hmm. So imagine if those ones that is from a bad result comes with root, then our teacher said then there is no way out. Then you will go bad and bad and bad and bad, because if your rebirth consciousness is with bad roots. So that means that all this life is bad and bad, no? Like, because it is already with bad roots that you come with, that one comes with. Mm-hmm. It is not easy to understand at this point, but then later when we go there, it will become more clear. But at the moment, just know that if it has bad roots, then there is no chance to come out, because already it is bad. So bad result, of course, also give rebirth consciousness, and it will come. We are not there yet, because now we are further ahead. Yeah, it will go down. Now it will go to other
lower
realms with one kind of this seven type of resultant consciousness. In this case, since we are already talking about this, we will go there. Okay, let's see first.
That's why dying angry, sad, or afraid is very dangerous, because it has this potentiality, and it will certainly go down.
Yes, it will go down, and then if you see abhusala vipāka citta, unwholesome resultant consciousness, there is only 7 kinds. Yes, now I will put everything now. Eye consciousness, ear consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, and body consciousness. Then we have receiving consciousness and investigating consciousness. Now here, these ones, they have their own function, yes? This one function to see, function to hear, function to smell, function to taste, function to touch, then this function to receive, and this one has 2 functions. This one functions to investigate when it is in the mental process in that moment. O sea, let's say, for example, this guy, he is at the same time a father, and he is at the same time a boss. So if he is at home, he is father. If he's in the office, he is boss. So he can have two functions, depend where he is. Yes. Mm-hmm. So this one, investigation consciousness, also function as rebirth consciousness. For in case of unwholesome. So say, for example, if we die in this life, and then it happens that the last moment was an unwholesome consciousness, then those resultant, it happens one of these, no?
must happen one of these because these are the resultant, unwholesome resultant. So those that happens will be investigating consciousness, but at that time its function is rebirth consciousness.
Patisan.
Okay, so we're going a little bit too far, but then we will come back and then it will be more clear because otherwise we get more confused.
Yeah, we will arrive there, but it's...
Yes. Okay, so let's continue with here. Until here it's okay. I think we're getting a little bit more confused with but okay? Yes.
Otherwise we can wait and then we go until we are...
Yes,
Can I
yes,
ask
yes.
something?
Yes.
These kind of cittas,
Mhm.
let's say one of these ones and then these two, when they are like unwholesome,
Mm-hmm.
Vedana is unpleasant.
Coming.
Ah, okay.
And also another thing is remember this is extremely important. They are not unwholesome themselves.
They are
They are resultant.
resultants of unwholesome.
Remember? Resultant of unwholesome. Because if they are unwholesome, that means that they are planting bad seeds.
Yeah.
They are not. They are not unwholesome themselves.
It's like
Super important.
the tree can give, the tree of the mind can give good fruits, sweet fruits, or rotten fruits. The fruit came bad already, maybe sometimes from the same tree, from the same mind. So these are not doing anything,
They
not
are not
planting,
bad.
but just the result of it.
They themselves are not bad, poor guys. They are the result of the bad conscious. They are not doing bad. They are not acting in this conscious, in this citta. The cittasika that is inside them is quite simple. It does not have lobha, does not have dosa, it does not have anything of those kind because they are resultant consciousness. They don't act. They are effects, no? So they themselves are not unwholesome. They themselves are not akusala. They themselves are akusala vipāka. Resultant
The
of
fruit.
unwholesome. Yes? Okay. So the feelings will come now.
Okay.
Cha-cha! Okay, so we said that, as we mentioned, that every kind of citta must associate with some kind of feeling. Yes, this is a universal cettasika, universal mental factor that it must have some kind of feeling. So we have already saw three kinds of feeling, which is somanasa, pleasant mental feeling, domanasa, unpleasant mental feeling, and neutral, vipāka, neutral mental feeling. Yes?
Yes.
We have already saw these three kinds. So now we'll answer the questions of Eduardo. That will it come with unpleasant mental feeling if the object is not good? Yes. So in this case, it is not possible. Why? Because in the previous, we already see that domanasa always associate with what? Dosa. Yes. So since they are not planting nothing, they don't react with dosa. They are result. So in this case, the most it happens with vipāka. It happens with neutral feeling because it is not something very pleasant, but it cannot happen with domanasa because it is domanasa only associated with dosa.
This is very important. Even the bad things that we experience in life come with neutral feeling.
Yes, we don't
But
have
we
to,
are addicted to good. That's why even neutral, we put qualification of bad, then I don't like it, dosa arises. So domanasa will come in the javanas, but in the fruits it will be neutral. So even the most
It's
unpleasant
bad,
pain,
even it's
physical pain, the most unpleasant smell, the most unpleasant sound or bad word that we received because of our previous actions, that's why we are here in this world where bad words are, bad smells are, which are also good smells and good words. But whatever we experience here is coming, when it comes back, it comes neutral to the mind. If I have aversion towards them, then at that moment is when I'm active, when the domanasa actually is happening by my own action, because I am planting it. I am reacting negatively to that non-pleasant but neutral fruit from the past. So it is very, very interesting how we can use this to change our perception and attitude towards whatever we experience that it's perceived as bad. It's coming neutrally to the mind. The mind is just seeing bad. And the mind says, when investigating, it says, oh, bad smell, finish. But then,
It's just
I
passing
don't
the
like bad
daytime.
smell. In the javanas, I don't like, then the domanasa comes, but I'm making it in the present. But the mind is just saying, good smell, bad smell, good side, bad
Or
side,
maybe
like
just say
Newton,
smell.
smell
We
good.
decide whether it's good or not.
Yeah.
And then the Yamana say, oh, I remember. I don't like this smell. Oh, I don't like that voice. The mind goes to the past. We cannot release our past. It goes to the past. Oh, it's the voice of my enemy. I don't like that voice. Even it was a buenos dias, good morning. Even it was good morning, but I don't like the sound. Then those arises because of a neutral thing. So it's really interesting in terms of practice.
So we later on today, I've also prepared some other information which also has to do with this, and we might come back for more explanation when we arrive there. Okay.
Right.
So at the moment, yes.
So I guess probably the same thing happens in the other context we're
In the kusala,
in the
we
kusala.
will go there.
Okay.
Okay. So wait. Like our teacher always said, coming.
Coming.
Like when we study also, we say, so like this, and then our teacher said, coming.
Because the mind can already foresee, oh,
Yes.
it's like logic. We have
it's
this
logical.
ingredient, and then this ingredient,
Happens
then
this
the
way,
mind
also happens
naturally
that way.
goes, oh, this plus this, so that means this is this. The mind will automatically, and this is very beautiful because it is a sign that we are understanding and that we are moving. Oh, and you will see it will come a moment when even will start arising because
Yes.
we are like this, putting parts of the puzzle. We have one part of the puzzle, we have another part. We put two together, but we cannot see what it is.
I also
At
prepared
one
this
moment, many pieces of the puzzle comes, and you really actually wait, shadows, wait. What's happening? Because the thing starts to come together. Yeah, let's be patient. At this time, we are still seeing parts.
But yes, it is.
We are not yet cooking.
Same way for
We are
the
just
way, but-
seeing the ingredients.
But not exactly.
There
Okay,
is
so
a-
trigger is a feeling. It's actually there are two more kinds of feelings here. One is called sorry, I'm too fast. Okay, never mind. So pleasant bodily feeling and it's okay, just here.
Okay.
So besides the three mental feeling, then there is also another two more kinds of feeling, which is pleasant body feeling, sukha, and bodily pain, dukkha. Yes. Have you realized that actually the body does not feel? Yes. What feels is the mind. Yes. If the body feels, let's say I'm going to say the example very ugly, but anyway. So let's say if a hand is being cut or a finger, if you leave the finger there, does it feel anything? It does not feel anything. So what feels is through the body, the mind feels. Yes? Yes, agree? Everybody agree? Yes? So that's why there is another two kinds of mental feeling, two kinds of the feeling that the mind feels through the body, which is pleasant body feeling and bodily pain. Yes? Okay? So these ones are totally mental, nothing to do with the body. Yes, whether we feel like happy or okay, actually we will see the definition of it, then we'll be clear. Pleasant mental feeling, somanasa, includes all forms of mental pleasure, happiness, joy, and ease. So
mental feeling.
mental,
The
so-
first three are mental, these are body.
So these ones are, the mind feels happy. It might not have to do with the body at the moment, but the mind is feeling joyful or happy or it likes it. But remember, it can associate with kusala or akusala. No? Yes? Okay, so mental pain, domanasa, comprise all aspects of mental pain, displeasure, unhappiness, sorrow, and uneasiness. The mental pain. Remember, domanasa can only associate with what kind of chitta? With
Dosa, with anger.
chitta. Yes, only with hatred, anger, chitta. Okay, so now vipāka, neutral feeling, being the midpoint between pain and pleasure, neither pain nor pleasure. So it's between these two. That is vipāka, neutral feeling in this case. Remember, neutral feeling, what kind of chitta can it associate with? All kinds, yes? It can be kusala, it can be akusala, it can be vipāka, functional, or it can be resultant also. Yes? Vipāka also is possible. Now, pleasant,
Three mental feelings, now we go to the body.
the mind feels through the body. Yes? Okay, so pleasant body feeling includes all forms of bodily pleasant sensations, comfort, and ease. When the body feels comfortable, then it is sukha, and then later on maybe the mind is happy about it. But at this point, when it is a feeling that it is pleasant,
Bodily pleasant.
yes, or bodily pain, dukkha, which comprises all aspects of bodily pain, discomfort, or uneasiness. So it doesn't have to be like really, really painful, like this. It doesn't have to be like, or maybe some kind of like this, or like this uneasiness or body and discomfort. Also, it is included in this kind of feeling, dukkha, body pain. Yes. So there are now we see 5 kinds of feelings in this case. So now let's continue. 3 of them, as Bhante said, is mental, and 2 is physical in terms of the mind feels it through the body, Yes? Okay. Something?
This can happen by the mind itself. When we remember something unpleasant, we are not feeling bodily pain, but the mind is suffering by itself, or it is pleasant by itself when you remember something nice. And the other one certainly must have some contact directly with the body in the present present sensation.
Yes. Okay, so let's go back to the akusala vipāka cittas, unwholesome resultant cittas. Yes. So it's these 7 kinds of unwholesome resultant cittas. Last week we also mentioned, just to remind again, vipāka cittas is consciousness itself. Now it's some kind of consciousness. So here, these ones are also consciousness. They are also cittas, resultant. They are the resultant consciousness which are produced by the javanas, produced by the
active parts of the mind. From the past
they are also mind. Yeah. Then about body later on in chapter 6 we will look to it. Yes, but at the moment we're only talking about the mind. Yes. So eye, ear, nose. Okay. So receiving and investigating. Yes.
So we can think more to simplify the 5 senses. We put the 5 doors of the senses, and the one that take and investigate, which is kind of the part of the thinking, is what receives an object and investigates it in the mind investigating the object, be it a sight, be it a sound, smell, taste, or a physical sensation.
Yeah, so the 5 sense consciousness.
5 sense and
like the doors and the receiving end.
Yes.
Door is a little bit different because the door itself, there is also an eye door. We will go there. And also, eye also is a base because the physical eye, without the physical eye, we cannot see. Yes? So the physical eye is called eye base. Yes? But then here is eye consciousness. It's actually the mind that sees, that arises. So they are a little bit different, but they are already, of course, related. And I will also
But it's also called door, as you said. Pancha dwara. Dwara means door.
Yes, Panchadora is actually a functional consciousness. So here we are not dealing with it yet. In the next week, next week we will deal with that.
We have tenemos videntes en el. We have ¿cómo se dice? It's coming. It's coming. It's coming.
It's coming. It's coming.
It's coming.
It's coming. Yes.
Hay videntes en el
Sorry,
cuarto.
what about the mind?
Mind thought process?
No.
What mind? Oh, this is mind.
Mind object.
Yeah.
Mental object.
Yeah.
Mental object. Now we are not dealing with that yet because now we are only with the 5-door process. Mind thought process. Last week we saw that it's not necessary to have any kind of this. Remember?
Because it's remembering something.
Because
It's
it is already in the mind.
In the mind. So this is what is actually seeing. For example, seeing something and remembering something you saw is different. When you see it, you are looking at it. You see, right now we see these colors. If we close the eyes and we remember what is there, it is a visual object, but it is coming from the mind. It is not really hitting the eye door like this. The light is not coming in.
I will change the question.
Yes.
Sometimes some thoughts arise.
Yes.
Can those thoughts be akusala vipāka?
No. No, cannot be. It is a very good question. The other day I also just thought about this and I was like this. Yes. So, akusala vipāka here in this sense only deals with the 5 senses, like what happens to us, like outside, like kind of outside, no, because it depends on the object. But when the mind thinks something bad, it is because of akusala. It is not because of vipāka. Because the mind chooses to, whether it wants to think about that or not. So we don't have to think bad thoughts. So when bad thoughts comes to the mind, it is purely defilement. It is purely because of dosa, because of akusala. It is not because that, I'm thinking bad thought all day long because this is my result. Then, because this is a karma, because of karma, I'm thinking bad thoughts all day long. No, but if we remember, of course, it might have something to do with it because, say, for example, I remember when I fell down and it was very painful and then I stayed in that memory. Well, that painful when I fell down, it because of body consciousness, could be body pain. It could be, or it is akusala vipāka at that moment. That happens body consciousness. Yes, when I hurt myself, so it is painful. It was because of past bad action that I experienced this kind of experience. But that's all. That's the moment. If I decide to roll on and think about it again and again, then it is my responsibility. It is purely jhana, only action. That's amazing, yes? So our teacher also says that if you think bad thought, it is because of akusala, not because of vipāka, not because of resultant. Yes? So we are responsible because of that. Yes?
In what part do you include imagination? If I imagine things that I am not perceiving and have pleasant feelings, how do you call it?
That's purely mind thought process. If we are not seeing it, then it's only imagining, then it's purely mind thought process, and all these cittas will not arise.
Nothing is coming from the senses.
Because it's only from
the mind is rolling in itself. It's just inside. Oh, very nice. Oh, very bad. Whatever it's thinking, it's just imagining and getting its objects from itself. That's why you remember last week we saw the process. It's actually smaller because it is not having contact with the senses. It's not seeing. It's not listening. It's just imagining. So it is rolling in it. I think it's that.
Here.
Like eating itself.
I have like a question, kind of related with yours.
Okay.
If I planted seeds for like kind of saying bad things to another person or mentally torturing another person,
Yes.
and then when there's a chance like for like a resultant consciousness of being kind of feeling what I made the other person feel.
Yes?
Isn't it like a resultant mental bad process?
No, because you are saying bad words to him and he is hearing it. It's
Okay.
Stotta Vijnana, his ear consciousness of his bad result.
It came through the sound.
Okay.
We
It's not
unless
very
you pass through, how you call this, like
USB.
telepathy. If you use telepathy, maybe, but it's not possible. You need to say the word. For example, for other person to feel bad from our actions, it must see a bad face. It must see a hand head gesture which is offensive, or listen a word. So for that person, it will come through the eyes mostly, or through the sound, or through the body. For example, we can hit someone from the back and he just feel. I mean, we don't, but you can do something bad physically, sound. So to that person will come through the senses, and then it will process in the mind.
Then if he decide to roll on it, then it is his own
That's
problem,
his
it's his own dosa. Then it's purely mental process. Now let's look a little bit here.
We were
Because
offended
all
only
these
once, and we roll on. Every time we roll on it, we are suffering because of
we want
ourselves.
it.
That person is not guilty. He insulted us only once, and I rolled 5,000 times on it. All that 5,000 is only my responsibility.
Now this is
rolling,
like teacher said, this is
rolling.
not because of karma, this is because of stupidity.
Nothing to do with karma. Only
Is that clear, Andrea?
sheer
Yes.
stupidity.
But we do that, so.
I do a lot. I am a very
So
good
we
sport.
have to get cured from
Sport
stupidity.
I'm a professional of that. I know how to do that very well. If someone would like to know, I can show you better techniques to torture yourself.
Okay, let's get back a little bit to the mind thought process.
Okay, got it.
Since we are talking about mind thought process, then I went back to the slide of last week. I was not going to talk about this, but because we're talking about it, so just quickly we look at this, no? So see, if it is a mind thought process, it can be, as we said, that we saw something bad which already came with the vipāka from the eye, but previously, and then it stayed in the mind, or sound, or smell, or taste, or touch, or purely thought, imagination, whatever it may be here. But these objects are already in the mind, you see. It is not like now that I'm looking at it or I'm hearing it. So in this case in the mind, that it is already in the mind, so it doesn't have to turn into the...
It's not turning nowhere, it's already
the senses, no? It does not have to turn to the senses. So this one can go. And because we are not seeing and smelling or whatever, it is only happening in the mind, all this also can go.
Because it's not using the senses, it's inside.
So in mind thought process, this is no need. Then for receiving what? Receiving the things that is coming from the senses. No? So if nothing is coming, then what do you receive? Nothing. Yes? And investigate also not necessary. It's already in the mind. So all these ones can also go. And now deciding what it is here is actually the same type of cittas, but it is called a different name because the process is different. So here instead of vipāka, determining consciousness, it goes directly to the
Manodwara. It is the door of the mind. Is coming through the door of the mind itself. So we answer a few questions with this one. Doors, yes, the mind is only eating, and yes, the processes can be
nothing
smaller.
To do with
It doesn't need to be 17 because this one, nothing is coming through the senses. So the mind is just thinking. So the process is smaller because it is eating on itself. It is churning. It is yum 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 inside, either good or bad. Inside the mind.
It only when any of this mind object is happening, then same way it shakes. Bhavanga shakes. Where something's happening, shake, and then it turns to the mind directly to the mind. Then you taste the object or receive action exactly. Then you plant good seeds or bad seeds here by itself. Aftertaste and then finish.
Sharana, I just found something, my friends. So that means, when we are suffering because of we are seeing or listening, or when we are suffering only in the mind, we suffer per second much more in the mind. Because we have less. We suffer mentally, we suffer more per second than somebody, for example, one person insults us. Look at the process. Someone comes and tells us, hey, you bunch of fools, what are you doing in this room? No? Someone comes right now and insults all of us. It took time to see the person. It took time to listen his word. It took time to know what he was saying. It took time to get angry. It took time to all of this. So actually, the actual insult of a person was very long until we know who said it, what word was it, and everything. Many of these processes happening. And then when we remember, we don't need the senses. We just need to remind, and the process is smaller. So actually, when we are suffering by ourselves in our bed in the morning or before going to sleep, we are suffering much more faster. Much more quantities coming because the process is smaller. So, and we are planting. We are planting much more seeds. So when we suffer mentally because we remember what someone did wrong to us, we are planting much more seeds than the moment when he or she insulted us. Very scary. Very scary. Not good business. Not good business. Not good business to continue. That's why the Buddha says, let go of the past. Let go of the future. Let go of the present. With a mind that is free from all attachments, cross to the other shore, freedom from suffering, Nibbana. Let go of the past. Let go of the future. Let go of the present. So this is why he all the teaching comes back turning to say, yes, the more we roll on things, more suffering.
Until here, we're okay, everybody?
Yeah.
Yes? Yes? Yes. Actually, what Andrea was saying it's a very important point. Last week, I also was preparing and I was thinking. That means, if we think bad thoughts, it has nothing to do with karma. It's only my responsibility. And I was like shocked. I was like, I have to cause hell.
No, but I tell you the full story. Before that, I am in the room working and then I just hear, and I say, what? And then she comes to the room, Toto, bante, ¿qué pasó? The mic cannot do. Oh. The mic, and I am like, what? Wait, why are you talking? And he goes, no, I need to cause hell. Do. You can't hear just do. Then she went called shadow and then he clarified.
It is true because why I thought it was so important and so good, because then when we think bad thoughts,
then there's nothing to blame. It's not because of our past karma. It's not because of bad resultant. It is because at this moment we are doing bad. It is because it is our action. It is seeds. So we can decide not to. So it doesn't mean that like if some bad thought comes to the mind, it's like, oh, because because this is karma, because bad thought. No, because we decide to. So that means we have to control. We can't think bad thoughts, or we cannot. So that's why, like, I don't have to be thinking about this thing. Like, so it's because of defilements. So that's why the other thing was like, I have to go to hello. Like,
it's attachment to ourselves, attachment to our story, attachment to my life. He told me, so we hold it, and the object is there. The memory will never go, but I am the one going and picking up okay, I have nothing to do, let's remember something. And then suffer, until we decide, okay, no need, I'm suffering, drop it. No, even the memory comes back, okay, no thank you, gracias, ahorita no.
Or we can decide to pick up something good.
Yes.
Why not think about something good? Why not think about the study? Why not think about how the mind works?
Loba, dosa, moha.
Yes.
Moha.
But sometimes when you're on it, it happened to me this week. I wasn't able to control it, and I was like, okay, I have the chance right now. And while I thought that, a lot of chances passes by, but I had the chance to change, and I was like, so what? And I was like, okay, drop it.
Yes.
So,
we need to practice a lot. Okay. Were you able to drop it once?
No, I got distracted.
Not even once.
Not even once. I decided to say hi to people and let people pass by. I was in a bad mood, but I was like, trying, but it wasn't genuine. It was genuine. So I got my mind distracted. I had to do other things, and then time passed by, and I was like, okay, now I can. Okay, don't punish yourself. That was fine. Okay, embrace it.
But the mind was more tranquil.
Yes, but I got distracted. Otherwise, I was like, I couldn't control it. It was like boom, 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 getting deeper and deeper.
Okay, so the distraction of the mind is pulling the emergency lever. You don't know what to do. Okay, emergency, stop the train, and then the train stops and opens the doors. So in that moment, we didn't learn. It was good at that moment. That's why our teacher says, if you have no other option, pull the emergency lever. Then the mind will change the object, and then it will come, and then you try to go back again and see if you can release. Now, if we always, the danger, this tool is very useful at the beginning, but if we always immediately put the emergency lever like Donald Trump is doing recently, sorry, political thing. But yes, it's like you just pull the thing. We don't have a opportunity to practice and learn because we are dropping. So we have the opportunity to practice and let's change. Opportunity to practice, let's change. So now our teacher says two things. Seattle Tajania says, okay, try to keep as much as possible. If it is unbearable, then change for a little while and then come back. That will be at the beginning. Then the more we get used to that suffering is not so bad actually. Anyway, we have suffered unconsciously so many times, and even worse than that. Now the challenge is to suffer consciously. It hurts a little bit more because I know that I'm suffering and I know that I can do something, but I don't know how to do it. That is double suffering. So we must take away judgments for ourselves. Oh, you cannot, or you see, many people comes and says, oh, not many people, but one person actually says, I want, but yeah, two persons have commented on that line. I says, no, I'm thinking not to go more to the sessions because much I studied, but I cannot apply in life. No, I'm not good for this. So the mind starts boycotting itself. So we must be patient to be able to suffer consciously and start thinking there, investigating, and most importantly, don't think it's me, because the me makes things worse. We set aside, look at it as a scientist, put beside and start looking, what is the mind doing? What is the mind doing? The mind doing? What can I do to contrast? What are the opposites? Then we start practicing and start releasing. Try, patience. It will hurt more at the beginning, but once the mind starts releasing for even one time can release, it will never drop that. Oh, that's a great tool because I was able to do it. I release the thing and then the mind will start liking it, and then still we need more practice until the mind starts releasing sooner. It won't go immediately, so we need patience. The moments of suffering, the moments of misery, will start becoming at the beginning shorter. If we got angry, we will get angry for less time, less and less and less and less and less, and then one time it will be just became the possibility of anger, and it didn't took root. So the mind will get killed. So don't give up. Don't
In fact, it was
stop
exciting.
trying. Huh?
It was exciting. Afterwards, I was like, I can turn, see,
Yes.
and I was like conscious of it, and I didn't punish myself as other times as saying, "Oh, you got angry, you were
Yes.
angry."
This
I
is not
wasn't judgmental with me as hardly as I used to.
Yes.
So it's getting there, but yeah, it was a bad day.
Our teacher says retreat, gather force, and then attack again. The enemy is too strong still, the emotion is all overwhelming, go back. Retreat, breathe a little bit, then as you said, you go back and say, okay, now can I deal with you? Until the moment that the inner stability and the strength of the object, because objects comes in to go. No object stays forever, because in nature nothing is forever. So it comes, so if I not fight him, the object, when it is here, because my mental stability is here, he will always win. I mean, that thing is going to always win. But when it is coming down, or I increase my mental stability, then I start getting into a moment where I can fight this enemy. So at that moment, okay, use the emergency thing, go for a little while, but when it is weaker, come back and try to fight with this guy a little bit, because he's tired already. He's going, he's old. I mean, in terms of mental energy, he's getting old, he's going away. So you fight with it, you learn. I mean, I'm sorry because of negativity, but anyway, we must train with something. Even in the boxing, there's people who spikes, ¿cómo se llama? Sparrings, who are paid to fight with the other one. So we need to train.
Thank you.
So, sorry, Juan, let's finish with you. So that's the part of practice. Thank you, Bante. And then now we just look at the same thing with Abhidhamma, let's say with the mental process. Exactly, because it is not a resultant, that's why it is possible to change. So that's the good news. Yes?
Yes.
Because if it would have been a resultant, there's nothing to do anymore, then it will stay there and stay there, then whatever we do, there's nothing to do because it's there. So, but exactly because it is not a resultant, so that's why we can change it. We can do something about it. Thank you. Okay, yes.
Perdón que lo diga en español porque
Sí,
tal vez no
sí.
es bueno, lo entiendo, pero claro, es complicado. Con lo que tú dices, sí, tú decías a la hora que estabas hablando cómo brincabas de uno a otro, ¿no? Sí, cómo estabas y te dabas cuenta. Y Bante hizo esta observación que yo te quiero hacer notar. Cuando estás en esta situación, en este pensamiento que no es bueno, la respiración. O sea, a la hora que tú estás atento y haces estas respiraciones profundas, tu fisiología cambia luego. Es bien importante la respiración para lograr poner esa atención y poderte retirar, ¿sí? Te ayuda muchísimo la respiración profunda, ¿sí? Es una herramienta súper valiosa.
Gracias. Okay, so let's continue. Everybody okay until here?
Okay.
Yes? Okay, so we were talking about vipāka cittas, unwholesome resultant consciousness of these 7 kinds, and we were talking about feelings. Yes? So let's come back to Vedana, come back to here.
Vedana.
Remember, Vedana has nothing to do with emotional feelings also, no? Like it's a few class before that we talked about. Vedana is purely the mental sensation, the mental feeling. Well, we should not call it feeling, we should call it Vedana, because otherwise then we get into confusion
Emotions.
again, like the consciousness and feelings and contact, and there's so many things that in English it has many more meaning. So that's why the teacher says that if possible, it is better that we remember the Pali word, because Pali word, when we say this word, there is nothing more than that, than what it really means. Says Vedana, it never means emotions, it never means this mood or it never means that.
It's just pleasant,
It's only
unpleasant, or neutral.
It's only
Mental
the
feeling.
mental Vedana, yes? So some of these words which are key words, then it is good slowly to remember these words in Pali. Okay, so now
in the case of unwholesome resultant consciousness, besides body consciousness, kaya vijnana, let's take it away at the moment. All these 5 types associate with neutral mental feeling. Yes, and later on we will come to why. Now we just know that it goes with neutral mental feeling, and with body consciousness, it actually deals with dukkha, pain, because we're talking about unwholesome.
Akusala.
When we're talking about unwholesome resultant, so all the time the touch is unpleasant. It does not have to be really painful, but as we saw, can be discomfort, can be unease, any pain or any kind of discomfort, bodily pain. So always for akusala vipāka, for unwholesome resultant, body consciousness always comes with bodily pain. Dukkha.
It's unpleasant,
Dukkha.
physically
Vedana.
painful.
Dukkha
To suffer hurts. Literally, that's why we don't like it. It is painful. To suffer even mentally, the body reacts with pain, unpleasantness, physical.
Okay, so now this one, Guillermo mentioned last week, which is important. The body door, about the body door, the sense, although in the unwholesome resultant, it is painful, no? Because it always have to do with bodily discomfort. So here, although in the process it is a resultant, we cannot change it. There is nothing to do here because it's already a result. But what we can do, and what is important here, is whether we react with the dosa or whether we react with tolerance and understanding. Then here is where we can do something about it. Here is already the result, cannot change because it is a unwholesome resultant consciousness. But here is the new seeds where we are planting. So here is important. Yes, how we react to it. Okay. Now, so we know that now these 6 kind of cittas associate with vipāka neutral feeling, and this one kind associate with body pain. Yes, in terms of this vedana, that has to do with akusala vipāka. Now let's see a little bit how the chakku vijnana arises, and then we will come back a little bit to the feelings. Yes, to why feelings. First, we need to know how eye consciousness, how it arises.
Vijnana means consciousness. Chakku, it's eye.
Vijnana,
Sota, we will start on chakku, eye. Vijnana is the consciousness.
Vijnana is the same as chitta, mano, and the first class we saw. Yes, all these synonymous. So, but in this case, the 5 senses, specifically, it is used vijnana. Vijnana, chakku, vijnana, eye consciousness. Okay, so how does chakku vijnana arises? So obviously, first we need an eye. So in the eye, not the whole eye, but in the eye there are some kind of sensitive matter. In Pali, it's called pasada rupa. It's a subtle kind of rupa, subtle kind of matter. It is, according to science, anatomy, that it is situated more or less in the retina.
There are the
rods and
cones and the rods, which are the cells that perceive light. One of them perceives black and white, and the other one perceives color. And together they make the shape. So we have like a sensor, like a camera in the retina. So the light comes, as we know, the light comes, and the images are actually inverted. Whatever we see is upside down. It comes, and then the eye, the lens flips it, and the mind makes this. The mind makes the exchange from seeing everything flipped. I know. The side is coming normal, and then the eye flip it, and then the mind needs to reverse it in order to see, not to see everything upside down. So then it arrives only in the sensitive matter, pasada rupa, that the Buddha already described as these cells that are in the senses, like the ones in the nose or the little hairs in the ears. He already described these things that change from the physical impingement, from the light, from the sound, from the smell or the scent. It comes and then it changes into electricity, coming into mental.
It's like an interface.
The mind doesn't
between
see.
The world and the mind.
One thing that was shocking is that one time we heard that, do we realize that the brain is totally dark? Inside the brain there is no light. And we can feel like, whoa, but so much, all this is happening just in the mind. The brain is totally dark. So it is only electricity that the mind is changing, and the Buddha describes since then all the sensitive matters that makes the transition from physical data to mental information.
Okay, so pasada rupa for chakku pasada is called because chakku, now we're talking about eye, so chakku pasada rupa, sensitive matter that is in the retina, in the eye, is one condition. No, surely we have to have a healthy eye in order to see. If the eye doesn't work, then the eye consciousness cannot arise. So this is one condition. Then we must have a visible object, yes, something that can be seen, yes, because that not everything can be seen. Say for example, gas cannot be seen. So in those matter, it does not have the visibility, yes, the visible quality of the object. So there must be an object that has visibility, that has visible quality, that is possible to see. Then with the help of light, because if there is an object, if there is an eye, if the room is totally dark, then still we can't see anything. So with the light, with the help of light, then the visibility quality, the quality of the visible object and pasada rupa and the sensitive matter get into contact, and we must have attention, then eye consciousness arises. This is how eye consciousness arises. Right. And here, it is also important that since we were talking about Pali words, contact, in Pali we say phassa. Phassa only means that when the object and the sensitive matter, or when the mind and the consciousness, when they get together, when the object and the mind, no, then the phassa only means that. Because contact, if we say in English, it means so many things. It can be in contact with so many things. But here, phassa only means, in this case, when the visible object and the pasada rupa, sensitive matter, when they get into contact, then eye consciousness arises with the help of light. Yes? So in the same way, so this is the conditions of how eye consciousness arises, chakku vijnana. So in the same way, for ear, can you put a little bit sound on your computer, please, Bante? So in the sound, the sensitive matter, pasada rupa, we need also inside the eardrum, there are, as Bante said, there are these sensitive matter.
Hairs, like hairs.
This sensitive matter is located there. Then with an audible sound and object, then it gets into contact with attention, with the help of space. Then ear consciousness arises. It's happening right now for all of us. Ahetuka, vipāka, sota, vijnana. Or actually it is kusala because we're talking about Dhamma. Yes, kusala, vipāka. Yes. Okay.
For Ajahn Mosquito.
Yes.
Just to complete, there is one Thai master that he says that many people in the forest were complaining about mosquito. I cannot meditate, all the mosquitoes are around. And he used to say, teacher mosquito, for patients, Ajahn Mosquito. Don't call him like that.
Okay, so in the same way, then with the help of space, then we hear the sound with attention. So this is how ear consciousness, sota vijnana, arises. Clear? Okay, everybody okay? Yes? Okay, so let's continue. In the same way, which is not difficult to understand, in the nose, inside the nose, there are also sensitive matter. With the object, smell, any kind, incense, whatever smell, with the help of air, that it get into contact, the object and the sensitive matter get into contact, then with attention, then nose consciousness arises.
We know that we are smelling something. With at the beginning neutral, then the mind comes with the negativity or positivity, and then it makes.
That's in Javana, no? That's already in Javana. Now
part.
Here we are talking about resultant only, no? So here the mind does not judge whether it's good or bad. It's purely receiving the sense data. Yes. Okay. Then in the same way for tongue consciousness, in the tongue, then there is the sensitive matter, pasada rupa. There are Okay. Then pasada rupa, and then with the object, the taste, food, in any kind of matter, there is a quality of taste inside. Yes, whatever it may be, even it is not food, even this have a taste. If I touch it, it will taste something. Even it's not food. So any kind of matter has the quality of taste. Yes. So when this quality of taste in the food touch
get into contact with the sensitive matter of the tongue, and with the help of water element or saliva in this case, then with attention, then we know, then tongue consciousness arises. Okay? Okay, so this is not difficult to understand. There's 4 conditions. So for our body, the whole body, can we feel touch sensation throughout the body? Yes, no? Like here, or anywhere we can feel. So the Buddha mentioned only there are 2 parts of the body that we cannot feel, which is the hair and the nails. That's why when we cut it, it's not hurt. It doesn't hurt. Yeah, otherwise we cut the hair or we cut the nails, and so besides hair and nails, then pasada rupa, sensitive matter, is located throughout the body. In this case, for touch, for body consciousness to arise. Okay, so when this sensitive matter get in touch with a tangible object, something that we can touch, get into contact, and with the help of earth element in this case is the hardness and the softness of the thing. Yes, so something that can be touched and we can know it is hard or soft. Then with this and with attention, that body consciousness, kaya vijnana, body consciousness arises in the same way. Yes.
Just one clarification.
Can you talk a little bit louder?
Yeah, the ear consciousness, if it's transmitted via space, why there is no sound in space, like outer space? Shouldn't be transmitted via air as well as the smell, because in space there is vacuum and there's no sound.
It is with the help of air. I mean, it needs
space
to move, but it is actually
pushed
moving.
by the
it's
air.
pushed by the air. The
air molecules.
Yeah, the air molecules. So what we actually perceive is different shapes of air bumps.
Okay.
And in terms of smell, it is the actual particle of whatever was released from. So the other one is particle, is like a chemical reaction. Actually, this is a chemistry detector or a different taste. And the other one is because of move. It's because of pressure, yes.
You
pressure,
see, like for smell, with the help of air, then the smell in the kitchen, that it actually, those particles comes into touch with our nose. But for sound, if I'm making sound here, the table does not go to your ear.
Yeah.
It is through space, and this vibration goes, and then it arrives to your eardrum.
Yeah.
Yes. So in this
Moving
case,
the sound,
where the sound is really happening, it does not go like into our ear itself. The table does not come here, and it's the same as a visible object. If I see the picture there, it is the visibility of that object. I mean the visible quality that
the
comes
light.
into contact with here by the help of light. The picture does not have to come into my eye. It does not have to come here. Yes, so it is in this sense.
One very nice example that the teachers give towards contact is very interesting. I make this sound here. Yes? Can you hear it?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Where is the sound? Here or here? In here, let's say. Where is the sound happening? Look, listen.
Both.
Sound is happening. Yes? Now, where is the sound? Is the sound here or the sound is here?
Both.
Nowhere.
It is nowhere. It is on the contact of the both of the things. So you see?
That it happens.
Look, so there is no consciousness. Here there is, if I listen the hand, no sound. If I listen the table, no table. So teacher says, the only thing that it is present, it is potential here, and only when all the conditions comes, which is the hitting of both, the sound comes. So consciousness happens in the same way. There are sounds, but if I don't listen a sound, good or bad word, no consciousness arose. Ahora sí que como decimos en español, ojos que no ven, corazón que no siente, o oídos que no oyen, corazón que no siente, etc. So the beautiful thing about it is that teachers always point to this. You see, reality is not what we think it is. Sound is not here, sound is not here. It is only on the contact of both of them. The potential is here and the potential is here. So then the contact happens, and look, consciousness will arise in all of us. We will know that I'm hitting the table. No consciousness, potentiality, consciousness arose. We know what sound it is. So it is because of all those cause and effect, all these many causes comes together. So what we are perceiving has no self, has no me, has no nothing. It's just nature happening because of many causes and conditions.
In this same example that Bante is given, it is also being used for karma, actually, about the storehouse that we were talking about. Because, say, the sound is not being stored in the hand, nor is it being stored in the table. It is nowhere. It is nowhere. But there is potential when these two things, when this condition come together, then sound is being produced. But it is not being stored here, and it's not being stored there. So when conditions come together, this potentiality immediately produce this result. So in the same way, our kusala or akusala karma, our good action or bad action, make this potential. So when the conditions come together, then it happens. Not that it is being stored our karma seed. Like we use seeds as an example, no? Like this is something like material that we need somewhere to store it. But actually, karma is not something material. You don't need to store it anywhere. It's just a potentiality that is there. Then also, other example that are being used for the same thing is like the guitar. The music is not stored in the hand of the musician, nor in the strings of the guitar. It is. But there is potential to make music when the two things comes together. Yes, okay, and also like a match, and the fire, and the match, and the what do you call that? The matchbox.
And the sandpaper.
So, fire is not stored in the match, nor in the matchbox, and the sandpaper. No, it's not there. But there is a potential to make fire. But where is the fire? It's not being stored nowhere. Just when these come together, because of the potential, it arises.
Last week, someone made the question. So where is all this? When we saw the mental process, no, we see Bhavanga and then the Chaku Vijnana and then Javana. So we will say, where am I on all these things that is moving? Who is passing? It is only this potentiality. So it is, nature has this thing. It is nowhere. It has no place. But the potentiality is actually passing from one piece to the other one piece. We remember who we are as long as the brain and the mind is working. We are recalling ourselves. Who am I? Each morning after coming from unconscious sleep, after being the mind really resting, we need to remember who we are. Who am I? And we are constantly retelling our story. You remember we saw in Wednesday class about the default mode network, no? That is the process in the brain. There is one part that is devoted to remembering who we are, remembering our past, planning the future. So this thing is like our jail. We are keeping on that thing without understanding really what is happening at the natural level.
Okay, so we'll continue a little bit, or you want to take a break? Yes?
Let's breathe in.
Okay, so we were talking about the conditions for the different kinds of citta to arise, yes? So here, in terms of the five doors consciousness, it is when the object and the sensitive matter, they get in touch, they get together, then the consciousness arises. Okay, so until here, it's fine, and then now, for the pasada rupa, the sensitive matter that get in touch with the object, it is subtle, yes, because it is like small matter, subtle, no? So in the comparison, the ancient teachers, they compare it as a piece of cotton. Like that's soft and subtle. And the sound, the object's sound, sight, taste, and smell is also subtle. It's being compared as another piece of cotton, yes? As you can see here, we are only mentioning about 4 senses, yes? Only 4 senses, okay. So, like what we just said right now, where the sight visible object, when it comes to the eye, when it gets into contact with the sensitive matter of the eye, it's only the visible quality that get in contact, yeah? So it is soft and soft, yes? Both of them are soft. And the sound also is quite soft, like the sound wave and the pasada rupa sensitive matter, they are soft. So in this case, smell and smell and taste, are the same way. So when they touch each other, it's like 2 cotton balls touching each other. So in this case, it is the impact between the object and the sensitive matter is subtle. Yes, agree? Yes, because they are subtle.
Because the light is coming from what we see. The eyes are not going and touching the thing. It's just coming.
Sorry. No. I'm saying another thing. Sorry.
So the sound is just coming to our minds and it's touching the mind very
touching the
softly,
sensitive
touching
matter.
the sensitive matter very softly.
Yeah. So this is the sensitive matter, this is the object. So they are touching very softly, and because the contact is so soft, then the feeling also cannot be strong. So that's why it only associates with mental neutral feeling in this case. Yes? Okay. And also, because of the at this point, the mind is not deciding whether the thing is pleasant or unpleasant. It is only getting the data from it. Yes, so it doesn't have a feeling of like it is very good or it is not so good. It doesn't know anything about the object yet here, be it kusala vipāka or akusala vipāka, wholesome resultant or unwholesome resultant, doesn't matter here. If it is wholesome resultant, it would be a nice object, no? Obviously, because it is a wholesome resultant. And if it is a disagreeable object, in this case unwholesome, at this point the mind doesn't know. Yes, because it's just getting the object. So the feeling is always a neutral feeling. Yes? Okay, now let's come to body. Kaya pasada, the sensitive matter of the body is also soft. Yes, sensitive matter is soft. But for tangible object, it is actually not so soft. They are quite hard. They are quite hard. So it is compared with a hammer in the examples. So what happens is that when the tangible object and the sensitive matter, when they meet each other, then the impact between the object and the sensitive matter is strong. Yes. So in this case, the feeling also cannot be soft.
Cannot be neutral.
So
it must be.
It is either in case of the pleasant, wholesome resultant, vipāka, then it will be sukha, bodily pleasant feeling. And in case of unwholesome resultant, it will be bodily pain or bodily discomfort. Yes?
Clear?
Clear?
So the body is gross. The mind, whatever happens in the mind, because it's mental, is much more subtle. And the body, whatever, either pleasant or unpleasant, it is so physical. It is so grossy.
Yes.
So,
it is actually the only sense that we really touch the thing. Yes, the stone. Say for example, if I see the stone does not come to the eye. It does not get into contact with the sensitive matter of the eye directly. It does not hit it. But with the hand, it does. Yes,
we go
really
directly to the contact, to the physical world through the body. That's why it has different, much more stronger sensation
feelings
in terms of the mind.
Yes, clear?
But still, there's no dosa.
No?
You are experiencing pain. Someone can have a lot of pain very patiently. Oh, I have pain. So the dosa comes later. Now it's only the vipāka. It is pleasant or very nice or unpleasant. Nothing to do until the jhāvana. We, depending on our mental ability, we will plant seeds of goodness or with wisdom and patience, tolerance, even towards difficult situation or pain, physical pain, or dosa. But this has nothing to do yet. It's just coming before, you remember, on the fruits, on the vipākas.
Yes, yes.
I have a question. If Vedana depends of the reaction of the experience,
Reaction of the experience?
if the situation generates a response and Vedana is soft or is high, like in the example, what about the experiment with monks who were meditating and they shot?
They shot, yeah.
And they don't react?
Yes, because that's on the active part of, in the active part of the mind, this is only the fruit.
And Vedana?
Vedana is associated with all kinds of cittas.
Because it's universal.
Okay.
So we are actually experiencing, when we are experiencing the fruits of previous actions, the vipākas, we have Vedana, pleasant or unpleasant. Then,
it's associated with that kind of citta also.
Yeah, it came from that. The pleasant or unpleasantness came from whatever a mental activity was previous. Now, when we are experiencing the reaction, comes on the active part of the mind, on the jhāvana. So this is new one, and it also has Vedana on it. So then it will be different moments of sensation.
Okay, I'll come back to this slide and it will be clear.
Is it that reaction? The reaction will happen on the active part of the mind, on the jhavanas, on the red ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we are talking about this. So this one came pleasant or painful or plain pleasant or unpleasant. Painful, physically painful or physically pleasant. No?
Depending on whether it is a wholesome resultant or an unwholesome resultant.
Yeah, but this is just the fruit. Now, we experience pain, for example, in this case, when the mind knows that it is painful and it says, yes, it is pain, then the new Vedana is going to happen here. The reaction, as you are saying, the fact that if someone with a mind that is very stable, he can experience pain or fearful sounds, but because of his mental stability, this one doesn't shake. They do not generate dosa towards this. So this one has also the same Vedana. It's pleasant, but he's not.
Not same Vedana.
I mean, it came from the same object. It came from the same object,
yes.
but he's not, because of his mental stability. He's not acting with dosa. That's the opportunity as human beings we have of experiencing a difficult situation and not putting more negativity on it. So we can react with loving kindness or wisdom, even if we are experiencing pain.
Vedana doesn't have grade.
No. What grade?
Great.
Like a level of experience is.
Look, Vedana.
I would say yes.
Yes, but Vedana is associated with all kinds of cittas. Yes. Vedana is a universal cetasika, universal mental factor. So all kinds of this also have Vedana, this also have Vedana, this also have Vedana, this also have Vedana, this also have Vedana.
Mental feeling.
Now the five Vedana that we were talking about here is this one, no? The unwholesome resultant consciousness, no? So here we are talking about specific Vedana about here. So here also have Vedana, because all cittas must associate with some kind of Vedana. So here, let's say if it is a painful feeling, this what kind of Vedana this associated with? Body consciousness. Dukkha, yes? So bodily pain, yes? So these ones, what does it associate with? Upeka, yes? Because we already saw that,
Okay.
because this is depend on the object, it is akusala vipāka. Unwholesome resultant, this one is associated, this chitta itself associated with dukkha, this one associated with upeka, this one associated with upeka, this one's functional also associated with upeka. Now here, if I decide to get angry, it's associated with domanassa.
Domanassa came.
Yes?
But it's
Sounds
not
clear.
because of the dukkha, because of the pain, domanassa.
Okay.
But different.
But
That one is
also
mental feeling, not
If
physical.
if a person reacts with good mind, then here not domanassa. Here the feelings will be different. Here it could be upeka. Say for example, I don't think somebody will be somanassa, like so happy with painful feelings. So maybe upeka, but kusala, no? Kusala.
Well,
chitta.
a masochist.
But then it's probably akusala.
Yeah, it's
masochist.
akusala, of course. I'm just
Loba,
kind
no?
of-
Like he wants it more and more.
It would be lower, yes, it would be
Yes.
lower. Oh, very nice.
Okay, so
Like when we are child and the teeth hurt a little bit and you kind of
Moving,
like
moving,
it.
moving.
Moving. Oh, again. Something like that.
Yes.
Weirdness of the mind.
is that clear?
Okay.
Yes. Okay.
My dear family, one thing very important. When we are getting questions, there are some people who has already seen some of these topics before. So let's be patient, and we will arrive soon to a moment where we will be level as a group. So in any case, I encourage you to follow this question as much as possible, get interest, not to say, okay, this question is not for me, something, then it will become worse. We can learn a lot, but it's a fact that is happening. Every question is jumping to the front, and I see Charana, because of explaining the question, going much faster and using Pali terms. So please, my dear family, let's be patient, try to understand as much as possible, and don't worry, because we are going so thoroughly and so systematically, thing by thing, it will come the moment when we will all understand everything that is happening. So please, patient. And for the people who make questions, no worries, let's move. Charana will dictate how far we go or not, in order to not to generate confusion. But let's go together as a group. We will soon arrive to a leveling moment.
Yeah, what time is it? So just to know how far we can go from this. 15:46. We have 15 minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
Gracias. Okay, so now here it is clear now why only the body feeling, the body consciousness arises with dukkha or sukha, painful or bodily pleasant feeling, no? Yeah, because of the contact. Yes, because of the contact. Okay, so now then we finish the wholesome resultant consciousness, which are 7 types, 4 types. Here, the first 4, we'll not first talk about the 5 senses, accompanied with neutral feeling, eye consciousness, ear, nose, tongue, and body, accompanied by pain. Yes. Okay, and then receiving consciousness and investigating consciousness, in this case accompanied by neutral feeling also. Because this is also mind, no? It's already got the sense data, and then it is the mind following the object. Says if it is a visible object, then these two also take the visible object, receive it, and investigate it. Yes? Okay, so here no problem. No? So all these are the 7 kinds of unwholesome resultant consciousness. Now, okay, so now we already saw that one, and then here is the result of this akusala citta, unwholesome consciousness that we have already seen. Now, next, we are going to see the result of the wholesome consciousness. So, in the same way, for kusala citta, wholesome consciousness, in the jhavanas, where we saw already active part of the mind that is being planted, in the same way it will give result, yes? So, wholesome, kusala vipāka, wholesome resultant consciousness, in this case it gives flowers and gives leaves and fruits as well, because it is the roots are healthy. Remember that we mentioned that the other ones, they only give flowers and leaves, but here, because the plants is good and it is healthy, so it will give better, more result. So in this case, for wholesome resultant consciousness, it gives 2 kinds of results. One with roots, called ahetuka, and one without root, that is called ahetuka. Hetu is roots, yes? So sa is with, ahetuka with roots, and a without, no, the negation, ahetuka without roots. So for kusala vipāka, it can give 2 kinds of different results, with roots and without roots, while for unwholesome consciousness, only without roots. Yes? Okay? Clear until here? And then obviously those roots will be good roots now, the ones that it gives, because it is healthy roots. So it will be according to how it is being planted, and then how which roots it is being planted, and then how it will come up also. Yes, there are some variations. Interesting. We will come to that in chapter 5 when we talk about karma. Okay, so now, since here we are talking about kamavachara citta, second group, ahetuka citta, rootless consciousness that does not have to do it with any roots. We are here at the moment, so we will first deal with only the ahetuka citta, meaning only the flower and the leaves here. The fruit of the wholesome resultant, we will leave it for later when it comes to its category. Okay? Yes? Now, so in this case, it happens basically, the mental process, same thing, no? Basically happens in the same way. It happens here. And in this case, it is a good resultant. Yes? So, what is the difference is that when we see nice sight, depends on the object, no? Or we have some cute, like reasonable sound, or like good smell, or like or some nutritious food, or some kinds of very nice touch.
For whom?
For both, like the baby also, mama, I think also.
Very nice.
So in this case, when the object is pleasant, is agreeable object, so these are the result of past good actions. Yes? Okay? So in the same way, for ahetuka kusala vipāka citta, here we have to specifically mention ahetuka rootless, because there are 2 kinds. Yes. So in akusala vipāka, unwholesome resultant cittas, we only say unwholesome resultant. We already know there is no roots, because there's only one type. But here, because there are with and without, so here the title in Abhidhamma, it's specifically mentioned ahetuka kusala vipāka in this case. Those wholesome rootless consciousness, resultant consciousness. Yes, and these ones. Same way, eye consciousness, ear, the 5 senses.
But now we are experiencing pleasant.
Pleasant, yes.
Fruit
this is
of
the fruit of the
good actions in the past. Because of our good work, because of our good decisions, we experience pleasant environment around us. We surround ourselves with good friends, we surround ourselves in a place, we choose a place nicely. That's why the mind, because of our previous action, is experiencing pleasantness. And now the next thing we need to take care is that attachment doesn't arise. For unpleasantness, nobody likes unpleasantness. Generally, we don't like unpleasantness and suffering and pain, and we want to push it away. Problem if we develop anger about it. And now this one has another thing. So the middle way will be equanimity, wisdom, and knowing now this is like this, but it will change. So we always keep this idea. Now it's unpleasant, but it will change, so no problem. Now it's pleasant, and it will change, so no problem. Because as long as we will get old, we will die, so it will change sooner or later. So no attachment, no lobha, no aversion, no dosa. Then we keep the mind clean. And why is it important to keep the mind clean? Because we are planting good seeds. So actually it's going to give more good. So it will be easier to be at peace when it is easier to be at peace when we have nice conditions. When we are suffering and people is hassling us or insulting us, it requires much more discipline, but it is possible still. So now we are facing the next, and how to keep the mind, remember, keep the mind balanced so it doesn't go to aversion or clinging and attachment.
This basically I don't have to say anything because we already explained. The same way, the other ones, well, first we talk with the Kaya Vijnana body consciousness, because this is wholesome, resultant. So the body, the sensation of Vedana that associate with this citta will be sukha, yes, bodily pleasant sensation. Okay, now, again, just as what Bante just said, here, if the sensation is pleasant, then it is resultant, yes, so nothing to do here. But what is important is whether we react to it with lobha, with attachment, wanting more, or we react to it with understanding, then it is our responsibility. Okay. Then the other, these kinds of kusala vipāka, in the same way, because the touch is soft, so it happens with neutral mental feeling, which is the same basically as the unwholesome resultant. Yes, so there's also nothing too much to say about it. Only here it comes a variation. Now, for ahetuka kusala vipāka, rootless, wholesome, resultant consciousness, there are two kinds of santirana, two kinds of investigation consciousness. One associated with neutral mental feeling, and another one associated with pleasant mental feeling.
Like, yay!
Now, why is this happened? Then it actually has to do with the object. With the object that it encounters. And what time is it? I don't know if we should go to this or
5 minutes before.
5 minutes.
I think
We can
just go
stop.
to the, and
Okay.
go to the revision, no?
Okay. So
We see this. My dear family, invitation again. Let's open our minds and keep reminding ourselves that this is us. This is not something outside. This is how our mind is working. In general, we do actions, we plant seeds, it gives fruits. Now we have been dealing only on how the fruits come up. If it comes neutrally, when the mind is kind of calm, okay, here is your fruit that you planted, or here is your fruit that you planted, or like this one, oh, here is a fruit, very beautiful, extremely beautiful fruit that you planted. So this is the only thing that is happening. How does this happen in our life? It's happening all the time. Right now, what you are seeing is already a fruit. When we go out right now, out of here, all the moment, whatever comes in, it's a fruit from previous action. Whatever we do with what we are experiencing, it's our responsibility moment to moment. The more clear, the more attentive we are towards what are we doing with what we receive, good or bad, we can make good or bad good, or we can make good or bad bad. We experiencing good and we can make it bad because of attachment. We experience bad and we can make it worse because of anger. So we can experience good with equanimity. We enjoy the good thing and we don't plan bad, and even bad we can change it to good. So we have possibility. This is the thing, like the encouragement and the hope that we can live from these sessions thinking, how am I this? How my family is this? My mother, where can I see my mother and all this? Where can I see my dog even? Is he understanding? So it becomes really interesting when we look to other people and ourselves and start understanding the ingredients. You will see how useful it will become when we want to separate things and understand. Let's continue with patience and then we will.
Yes, so here we will state for why Santirana, in the case of wholesome resultant, is divided into two types, with neutral feeling and with pleasant feeling, and this will be to be continued. And now, let's just, as Bante said, that the study of Abhidhamma is like making a puzzle. So we are collecting pieces and collecting pieces. So there are times when some pieces comes together and it was like some moments that you can have.
Aha moments.
Like, yeah, that it happens like this. So when the pieces matches together, and then later on when they get more and more together, then we will see the full picture. Now maybe we get some pieces together, but maybe we see something like this, and then we see something like this, and then we see something like this, and then but we still don't know how they are connected to each other and what kind of picture it will comes. But slowly we have to take time and with patience, and we will be picking the pieces, and when the picture comes together, then at the end one day we will see the full picture of how these things
That full
works,
picture
yeah?
is called enlightenment. We will the whole thing will come together. Hey, no need to suffer, no need to hold to anything.
Okay, so
We will arrive, my dear friends, one day.
Yeah, one day. That's the goal, no, for studying. So
Happiness.
to
Happiness
finish,
is the goal.
to finish, let's do a little summary of what we have seen today, and we saw that there are different kinds of feelings. Yeah, let's see if we remember. Pleasant, mental, somanasa, domanasa,
Vipāka neutral,
sukha,
pleasant,
pleasant feeling,
dukkha, unpleasant physical
physical.
feeling.
Yes, so 5 kinds of feelings we saw today. And
3
then
for mind, 2 for body.
3 mental and 2 physical. And then we saw how the different kinds of consciousness of citta arises for eye consciousness with the sensitive matter, visible object with the light and attention. Then eye consciousness arises, no, in the same way for different kinds of cittas, and arises when the conditions comes together, or condition comes together. Then we saw that it is compared the sense and sensitivity. Sensitive matter is compared with a cotton ball and it's soft, while the tangible object is compared with a hammer. So that's why the feelings comes different. Yeah. So we saw that today. Oops.
Yep.
And then we also saw the kusala vipāka and akusala vipāka, wholesome resultant and unwholesome resultant, rootless. No, rootless. That is the 5 senses, and the receiving and the investigating consciousness. And so until here we finished the 2 types of ahetuka citta, rootless consciousness, 2 groups of them, and we only left with the investigation consciousness with the 2 different feelings in the case of wholesome resultant for next week. Yes, and then next week we will probably also see the rootless functional consciousness.
Estamos avanzando, señores. Estamos avanzando.
Okay, so
Clap, 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 clap.
there are
Briefly, my dear family, what we bring home? Quick, a few of you. It's really useful for us. It's really useful for everyone to know what are we bringing, what inspiration, difficulty, whatever. So feel free. What are we bringing home? Yes, Alex.
I feel very happy about seeing the pieces of the puzzle, but reaffirming the idea that we can choose how to react independently of the circumstances that life brings.
That's empowering, you know, like, oh, I can change this thing. We can do it. And we are seeing at a microscopic level how we can do so. Yes.
Somebody else?
I'm so surprised that the body doesn't feel anything, just my mind. I'm really.
It
I
comes
know.
through the body, but the mind is the one that
Marvelous
feels.
that concept. Extraordinary. Yes.
Somebody else? What do we bring home? Marcelazo.
For me, I am surprised. Talking about, as Alex said, we can decide, or we can practice in order to be able to decide how to react. But for example, I had couple of moments this week, moments that they didn't arrive as a discussion, but it was like moments with the potential of being a discussion. When it was the anger was arising, then I, let's say, decided to stop the face-to-face moment and then just walk. The anger was there still. The reaction was, okay, let's not do something that I'm used to do.
Yes.
But it was, I was like 3 times in separate moments. But the first time was distract myself, as you said.
Manifest, yeah, I was going to say.
Let's do something to distract myself, and then the other 2 was, okay, I'm not in the middle of the situation, but I'm still feeling angry.
Yes.
So I am not going to distract me from being angry.
Yes. You are accepting the situation. Yes, the anger is present. The fact that we know that it is present doesn't mean that it should go away.
Exactly.
I am with it, so we must be patient with it. We will be consciously now suffering. So at the beginning, only is difficult, but it's possible.
Yeah, and then the relationship that I'm starting to understand is that I can choose the reaction at that moment. It doesn't mean that the anger will go with that decision.
Yes.
But at least I didn't continue.
You have space.
I have space, and I didn't plant those seeds. I am understanding that. But the anger will still be there.
Because the anger is coming from
the other, exactly.
the
So
fruits.
kind of understanding the relationship between the whole thing.
You're not watering the plant of anger anymore. It arose and it gave me bitter fruits.
Exactly.
But I'm not planting now. I won't plant. I won't. Not planting. Put water. I won't put water. So eventually it will calm down.
Yeah, realizing that in the whole the bunch of moments that will arrive.
Yes, acceptance, and at the beginning the mind wants to say the thing. It's like, so just the first one. I'm sorry, it was totally like that when it happened. So the mind is gonna hassle at the beginning, but once we drop the thing and the mind realizes that it is good for itself, well, I didn't suffer. I didn't say what I wanted to do, but I didn't suffer all this. My friends, my dear family, if our mind really understands that something is beneficial for itself, it will continue doing it. So we just need keep trying until the mind does it once, and in the same way that we try something in the past and we like and continue doing it as a habit, the mind will see that it is better not to suffer, and eventually we'll get it as a hobby, and it will start doing it until it will become its second nature or its nature. It will naturally do it because it knows it is much better for itself. So.
Okay.
2 more people. What are we bringing home, Andrita?
I'm still in shock.
With?
Yeah. About there's no mental vipāka. And it changes completely the way of practice also. So it's really good.
It's all responsibility. We are responsible for our suffering. We cannot blame someone else. The conditions possible, but the suffering, the actual moments of suffering, is all our inability. It is hard. It is also hard to.
And the way to watch, the way to be aware of it also changes. So it's really interesting. That's what I take for granted.
Very good. We really very much love this feedback because it's so we so concise, it's so practical. And one last person who wished, or if that's it, that's it.
I would like to thank you and all of you because I had a lot of aha moments today.
That's what we need. May more aha moments inundate, how you say? Nos inunden? ¿Cómo se dice? Flood us. May more aha moments flood us, overflow us from aha moments. Okay, my dear family, let's close today. Thank you so much. very, very much for this opportunity for all of us. You coming here opens up the possibility for us to be thinking and preparing about this. And during the week, we discuss a lot, we research, we ask our teachers. So thank you for the possibility that we are all doing. We take responsibility for our ignorance. We take responsibility for our inability to share. Some of the things might not come out in the best way. So please, we take responsibility for it. And please put it aside. The Dhamma is beautiful. We are students of the Dhamma and we appreciate it. So whatever personal, because of our inability of expressing verbally, physically, or just because of personality, put it aside, but the Dhamma keep it. We are doing the same in our development. So remember that the message is what is important, not the messenger. So may these seeds fall into very fruitful land and give many, many fruits for our benefit and all our families and all this. And with that intention, we repeat, Itano punyam, nibanasa, pacheyo, otu. Itano punyam, nibanasa, pacheyo, otu. Itano punyam, nibanasa, pacheyo, otu. May these fruits also benefit our family, friends, co-workers, people we know, people we don't know, especially those who suffer much more than us, that there are many. We are actually extremely fortunate. Itano punyam, sabasatana, pajimam. Itano punyam, sabasatana, pajimam. Itano punyam, sabasatana, pajimam. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Big, 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 big sadhu. Thank you for your patience and our efforts, common effort.
Whatever wish, please come together.
In the name of the monastic order, we appreciate your seeds that are being planted. You know how are they? May they give many fruits for final liberation. In we repeat, Sangasa, Dema, Nibanasa, Pacheyo, Otutu, Sadhu, Sadhu, Sadhu. See you next Sunday and Wednesday.